Some of the world's most iconic and influential figures grew up with brothers and sisters, and that includes SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Elon's younger brother Kimball Musk is no stranger to success. He's a chef, philanthropist, and a restaurateur. His dream is to feed America with high-quality organic food, and he's already well on his way to doing that. Kimball's aspirations may be totally different from his brother's lofty interplanetary goals, but you could argue that his vision for sustainable farming and organic produce is just as important as getting to Mars. Who knows, maybe one of his goals is to help his brother Elon with the food supply on Mars. If people are going to live and die on Mars, sustainable food will be pretty important. Kimball was born in South Africa to Canadian supermodel Mae Musk and South African engineer Errol Musk. Kimball grew up alongside Elon and his younger sister Tosca. He graduated from high school in Pretoria and then decided to join his brother Elon in Canada. The Musk brothers might have been born in South Africa, but they were also Canadian citizens at birth by way of their Canadian mother, Mae. Kimball joined Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, where he pursued a degree in business. He got his first job when he was still in university at the Bank of Nova Scotia. Kimball graduated in 1995 and dove headfirst into the deep end of the business world. Entrepreneurship runs in the Musk family, and Kimball's first business venture was a residential painting business with College Pro Painters in 1994. Both Kimball and Elon had now relocated to the United States and lived in California. In the same year, he went on to partner with Elon and start the company Zip2. Zip2 was an online city guide that provided content for the new online versions of the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune newspapers. In 1999, the Musk brothers sold Zip2 to Compaq for $307 million. Soon after selling Zip2, Kimball invested in several budding tech and software companies. Key among these companies was his brother Elon's X.com, an online financial services and email payments company. X.com went on to merge with PayPal, which in October 2002 was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion worth of stocks. Kimball then moved to New York, where he would start to carve out his current career path. He enrolled at the International Culinary Center in New York City. Soon after he completed his studies, Kimball set his sights on the restaurant business. In collaboration with Hugo Matheson and John Lewin, Kimball Musk opened the Kitchen Boulder, a community bistro in Boulder, Colorado. The kitchen first opened in 2004 and has received critical acclaim from casuals and experts alike. Since then, it's expanded and now has locations in downtown Denver and Chicago. The kitchen has been named as one of America's top restaurants by Open Table, Zagat's, Gourmet, James Beard Foundation, and Food & Wine magazine. After all the rave reviews, the kitchen expanded to the Kitchen Restaurant Group, serving up high-end dining at Hedgerow and affordable farm-to-table dishes at Next Door American Eatery. After nearly 7 years of supporting the Grow Foundation to plant school gardens in the Boulder community, Kimball Musk and his business partner Hugo Matheson were finally ready to start their sustainable farming initiative. So in 2011, the duo created Big Green, a non-profit that aims to bring edible and educational nourishment to schools that need it most. According to Musk, the idea is to create learning gardens that will help connect the kids to real food and hopefully inspire them enough to create a new generation of American farmers. Big Green currently serves over 500,000 students in 7 states, and if it wasn't for the COVID-19 pandemic, it would have been well en route to reaching 1 million students. Kimball Musk isn't short of revolutionary ideas when it comes to food production and consumption, and in 2019, he partnered with Tobias Peggs to create Square Roots, a startup that aims to reduce food waste by growing it as close as possible to the point of use. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, a third of the world's food supply goes to waste. So anything that the Brooklyn-based startup can do to change that terrible statistic would be universally appreciated. Square Roots develops and installs hydroponic farms that they call modules into reclaimed shipping containers that can grow certain vegetables around the clock and without pesticides. Today, they're producing basil, parsley, mint, and other herbs and leafy greens. The modules employ software-controlled LED lighting and irrigation systems. They can be set up inside industrial buildings, a large warehouse, or better yet, right outside a grocery store in the parking lot. This will allow individuals and eateries to access fresh ingredients locally for use in their dishes. Growing some crops close to where they'll be consumed helps reduce the food damage and spoilage that occurs during shipping from the point of harvest to the food's destination. According to Tobias Peggs, growing food in a tightly controlled microclimate has the added benefit of crops having better flavor and yield than their peers that are grown on traditional farms. As great as the outdoors can be, conditions can get very unpredictable very quickly. According to Tobias, when you're farming outdoors, the weather isn't the only variable factor. Everything from changes in soil acidity to humidity could harm the crops. In an effort to promote consumer knowledge on the origin of their food, Square Roots has come up with an ingenious feature. Buyers of Square Roots produce can scan a QR code on the packaging to read a transparency timeline with details about their fresh food, like the identity of the farmers who grew it, when it was harvested, and when it was delivered to the store. And if you think that's big, hold up, because Kimball is thinking even bigger. He may be the executive chairman of Square Roots, but let's not forget that he also holds a seat on SpaceX's board. If you've been following his brother Elon's journey, you might know where we're going with this. Kimball Musk aims for Square Roots technology to work on Mars. His exact words were, "I'm focused on bringing real food to everyone on Earth, but the farming technology we're building at Square Roots can and will be used on Mars." According to environmental researcher Paul Hawken, modern agriculture accounts for 24% of greenhouse gases, making it the #1 source of pollution on the planet. As much as indoor agriculture cuts back on that startling figure, it's still not as sustainable as many would think. When all the energy inputs are totaled, indoor farming requires a whole lot of power. Like his environmentally conscious brother, Kimball Musk is already taking steps to ensure that Square Roots production is as green as possible. Square Roots is working with partners who use renewable energy as much as possible to power their modular farms. It partnered with Gordon Food Service, which runs its business partly on wind power. The partnership will allow for Square Roots modular farms to be rolled out across Gordon Food Service's network of retail stores and food distribution facilities in the United States over the next few years. Kimball is doing a lot of good for humanity, but don't be fooled by the humble cowboy hat that he loves to wear, because with a net worth of $500 million and shares at both Tesla and SpaceX, Kimball Musk is doing pretty well for himself. This puts some perspective on his brother Elon's world-beating fortune. What a wild ride the Musk boys have had, from growing up and creating startups together to being successful, pioneering voices in their respective fields. Two things that they don't have in common, though: a highly publicized life and a very strong presence on Twitter. Unlike his celebrity brother, Kimball Musk's online activity is relatively low. But don't worry though, even though Kimball doesn't share much about his personal life online, we can still answer that burning question on your mind. What's with the hat? He wears a cowboy hat because he tried one at a store in Austin, Texas a few years ago and decided it looked good on him. In support of Plant a Seed Day, he once tweeted, "Everyone looks good in a cowboy hat. Embrace your inner farmer and wear a cowboy hat and pledge to plant a seed." When it comes to personal relationships, Kimball Musk hasn't been nearly as busy as his big brother Elon. Kimball was first married to Jen Lewin, who, if you may recall, was one of the Kitchen's co-founders. Jen, an interactive artist by profession, is believed to have designed the Kitchen's first 3 locations. The couple had 3 kids together before they eventually divorced. Kimball then married Christina Wiley, an environmental activist, in April 2018. Christina is the daughter of Sam Wiley, a billionaire who made a few appearances on the Forbes annual Rich List back in the day. Kimball Musk may not be as vocal on the internet about his personal life as most people, but when you get him started on the lesser-known topics of sustainable farming and indoor agriculture, he literally can't stop talking. That is the sign of a man driven by vision and purpose for humanity, much like his big bro Elon. Kimball hopes to inspire more people to become farmers, especially in America, where the farmers' population is dwindling every day. According to Kimball, wherever Square Roots installs its modules, crops are grown and systems are managed by employees who have enrolled in Square Roots' Next Gen Farmer Training Program. In a year, the trainees get to learn about everything from computer science to plant science from Square Roots, while also earning a salary and health benefits, which, as you may know, aren't always available from similar apprenticeships or internships. Kimball is trying to change the whole dynamic of American farming by inspiring city dwellers to be full-time or part-time farmers. Square Roots' headquarters in Brooklyn is proof of that. Did you know that Elon Musk had a billionaire brother? What do you think about Kimball Musk's innovations in sustainable farming and indoor agriculture? Do you think Square Root will come up with the technology to grow crops on Mars? Let us know all this and anything else you have on your mind down in the comments. In the past couple of years, we've seen a number of studies carried out to make quantum internet a reality. And while it's taken a while to see some progress, scientists have finally had their eureka moment. And boy, is it sweet. In fact, the most recent breakthrough in quantum networking came from Purdue University, where engineers have been working day and night on a method to fix a serious problem that stops the development of quantum networks large enough to reliably support several users. And you know what? They finally made some massive headway. According to a recent report published by the researchers in Optica. These engineers are laying the groundwork to create a series of quantum computers and quantum sensors that will have the ability to go online and successfully communicate with each other. The paper describes how a team of engineers have successfully deployed a programmable switch capable of adjusting the quantity of data sent to each user by choosing and redirecting certain wavelengths of light carrying data to different channels. This switch will make it possible to increase the number of users without having to endure photon loss as the network expands in size. Yes, you might be surfing the web using quantum technology in the next few years, but photon loss is still a major problem that hinders this innovative technology, because as soon as you lose photons in a fiber optic network, you've lost information. That being said, it's not been an easy ride for the scientists that made this major breakthrough. According to Andrew Weiner, a distinguished professor of electrical and computer engineering at Purdue, the team has had to undertake multiple daunting approaches that initially required them to physically interchange dozens of fixed optical filters tuned to individual wavelengths. This made it difficult to adjust connections between users, and it also contributed to greater photon loss. But with the new method, scientists don't have to worry about adding filters anytime a new user joins a network. They simply programmed the wavelength selected through the switch to direct data-carrying wavelengths to the new user, thereby minimizing operational costs and maintenance as well as making quantum internet way more efficient. According to the paper, the wavelength switch was also able to alter the bandwidth depending on the user's requirements, which was not the case for fixed optical filters. Some users were even able to access applications that require greater bandwidth than others. It's kind of like how you can access more shows through a web streaming service if you pay for a premium package to get higher bandwidth. Pretty awesome, right? But for quantum internet to work, forming connections between users and altering the bandwidth will require entanglement, a process through which photons maintain a stable quantum mechanical relationship with each other regardless of the distance between them. This will enable users to successfully connect to a network. And so entanglement will be fundamental for quantum computing as well as quantum information processing. For the Purdue researchers to create entanglement, their method involved changing the rate at which the entangled photons were shared so that they could be used as a resource to entangle the quantum sensors and computers of two different users. While this is by all means impressive, one country has really outdone itself when it comes to photon entanglement, and that country is China. As early as 2014, Chinese scientists were able to achieve quantum entanglement to the distance of hundreds of miles thanks to the use of their Mycius satellite. As for the Purdue researchers, they're presently working on building a much larger network using the wavelength selection switch. But this isn't the only quantum internet breakthrough that we've seen so far. In fact, in 2020, physicists at the Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands have done something truly amazing. They're actually the first team in the entire world to successfully connect 3 quantum devices together, and that's huge. According to the lead author of the study, Dr. Ronald Hansen, this is the first time that a network has been successfully created between quantum processors. Initially, a single direct link had been achieved between 2 processors in the past decade, but no network had ever been created. And so, with the pace at which things are moving, one can't help but continue to wonder, just how will quantum internet affect the way I use the internet? Well, the most immediate effect would be enhanced security. You see, a set of entangled particles can be operated as a cryptic passcode. That's because each particle in a quantum internet computer holds a qubit, which is essentially the tiniest section of quantum computing information. It is shared only to its entangled twin found in the computer that you're sending this information to. So, a user will have the ability to encode their message as a string of qubits that only the receiving computer will be able to decode. And if someone attempts to hack into the network and try to read the qubits from one of the computers, then according to quantum mechanics, the user will be able to tell because the act of observing a particle changes its quantum state in detectable ways. Now, that would give hackers a hard time prowling in the shadows, wouldn't it? But despite quantum internet seeming more secure than the current internet we have, it also has one major issue. It requires a lot more infrastructure to set up. For a quantum-connected future to be realized, we'll require multiple quantum computers. And these are really tough to design and build. And let's also not forget that quantum relays are more difficult to set up than the relays we have with conventional internet. You see, when it comes to quantum uplinks and downlinks, each quantum signal relies on 2 entangled particles interacting with each other across large distances between computers. This is really hard to pull off because fiber optic cables begin destroying photons when a certain distance is crossed. Plus, these photons can't travel across electrical wires. Also, once you read these photons, you can't access new passcodes. Now, how do you solve this problem? Well, China seems to be onto something. They're tackling this problem by beaming entangled photons across hyper-advanced relay stations based on Earth through the Mycius satellite located in space. While it works, it's not 100% effective, because once you start reducing the precision of the transmitters, you gradually lose photons. In fact, scientists are yet to come up with an ideal method of transmission that is cheap and reliable. But chances are that it's going to involve a whole bunch of satellites. But other researchers have proposed a different solution to this problem. According to quantum physicist Ronald Hansen, people can still continue to use conventional computers. However, if they want to transmit a quantum-secure message, they can simply head over to a local quantum relay and have it sent. Or they can easily connect to a secure online quantum computer through the internet and then send the message. This method would certainly cut down infrastructure costs. However, not every scientist is pumped and buzzed about the computing possibilities of a quantum internet. Scott Aronson, a quantum computer scientist at MIT, believes that quantum internet might disappoint the average internet user and it might not live up to their expectations. You see, so many quantum physicists have marketed quantum computing as the dawn of a new era, where man will be able to harness the untapped power of multiple universes and find out every solution in parallel. Quantum computing has been labeled as limitless, but most people will be shocked to find that quantum computers will only be good for a number of basic quantum simulations, not to mention possessing a few specialized features. While they might someday lead to groundbreaking discoveries in fields of medicine and technology, they might have very few immediate and transformative effects on the average person's life. According to Aronson, the only major differences between a quantum-connected internet and the current conventional internet we have today are very small and narrow. The one major difference, as we had mentioned earlier, is that people will be able to relay their messages with a greater sense of security, far more advanced than what is available with our conventional internet. They'll also have access to computers that'll be able to carry out way more complex tasks at rates that are impossible today. A computer on the quantum web will most likely solve complex puzzles and patterns in seconds, one that could take the everyday computer several hours. We will most likely see computers that'll be able to quickly optimize schedules for factory production or even figure out patterns in stock data within seconds. But bear in mind that all this is a big if, because no one really knows for sure just how fast the standard quantum computer will be. But you know what might be the biggest revolution from the birth of the quantum internet? It's not even the quantum computers themselves. Rather, it's the secondary effects that quantum internet will have in important fields such as medicine and technology. We could see the development of better solar panels, more effective medication, faster conventional computers, and improved online service delivery. The possibilities could indeed be limitless across these fronts. In fact, we can honestly compare this present moment to the first days of research into computer networks that began in the 70s and 80s. You see, we're using computers in a totally different way than their intended use early on. Today, we use computers mostly to be a part of this massive online global village where information is shared from every corner of the world. It's likely that the same thing could happen with quantum internet. It might start out being used in one way and then transform into something entirely different. But, as always, it's hard to predict the future. But one thing's for sure, quantum internet will be a revolutionary technology. And with that being said, we've come to the end of this video. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think about quantum internet and how it might change our lives. Currently, human civilization has different kinds of defense systems in place for all the various threats that we might face here on Earth, ranging from fighter jets and armored vehicles to military robots and AI. But what can we really do regarding threats that aren't from here? How do we prepare ourselves to combat threats from space if the need arises? Observing the stars will help us understand space, no doubt, but it certainly won't help us protect ourselves from it. While Earth doesn't really have any planetary defense systems in place, what we do have are innovative scientists and physicists. Groups of space agencies and teams of engineers are setting out to test their theories for real planetary defense. In today's video, we'll be discussing how SpaceX is going to launch the first planetary defense system. There's no convincing evidence for the existence of aliens, and so many people believe we are the only intelligent species in the universe. Scientists don't think that we'll be attacked by extraterrestrial forces or that there could be an alien invasion. That being said, we still face numerous threats from space, and some of them might be a lot scarier than we think. In recent times, scientists have observed certain free-moving objects in space, and while many of these objects are far away and may never reach us, it's imperative that we have some sort of defense system against them, just in case. These objects that have been observed are called near-Earth objects, and they include asteroids, meteors, and comets. Asteroids, being the most common, are huge chunks of space rock moving at incredible speeds through space, with the slowest moving asteroid moving faster than a speeding bullet. They differ in size, ranging from a few centimeters to several kilometers, with some being as big as the moon. While impacts from these objects in the past have helped shape the current geological and biological state of the planet, a big impact today would almost definitely be catastrophic. In his final book, Brief Answers to Big Questions, renowned physicist Stephen Hawking hinted that a collision with an asteroid is the biggest threat to the planet. Planetary Defense Institute B612 Foundation reported it's 100% certain we'll be hit by a devastating asteroid, but we're not 100% sure when. Earth has suffered a number of asteroid impacts in its 4 billion year history, but maybe none as devastating as the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. The cause of this mass extinction event was the collision of Earth with an asteroid measuring at least 10 kilometers. The asteroid crashed into what is known today as the Gulf of Mexico, creating the Chicxulub crater. The impact of the crash was so powerful that it triggered mega tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and a powerful shock wave 1,000 degrees hot that spread for thousands of miles. In the end, the asteroid wiped out over 75% of all plant and animal life on the planet, partly by causing a nuclear winter that lasted for thousands of years and what we know today as the Ice Age. With the possibility of an asteroid impact in mind, NASA scientists have helped put together the Asteroid Impact Avoidance Projects. These are a number of methods and techniques that, when implemented, could help deflect or divert a near-Earth object on a collision course with Earth. If successful, this would prevent the catastrophic effects of an asteroid impact. As of now, NASA has put forth a program to test out its defense methods called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, codenamed DART. DART will be NASA's Pioneer space probe aimed at testing the theory of redirecting an asteroid's course and orbit by direct impact with a spacecraft. The spacecraft will be launched from Earth on a collision course with the asteroid, not to destroy but rather nudge it in a different direction away from Earth. Why not destroy it? Well, this would be a bad idea owing to the fact that destroying the asteroid would only serve in reducing its mass into smaller-sized chunks of rock. These smaller pieces would move at a much faster speed than their larger parent and upon impact would have a widespread effect as opposed to a centralized collision. DART is a joint project between Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory and NASA and is being coordinated and developed under NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. SpaceX will do the honors of launching NASA's DART spacecraft from the Vandenberg Space Launch Complex in California, USA. When launched, the spacecraft will be headed for the binary asteroid system named Didymos. Didymos is the Greek word for twin, which is fitting because, unlike regular asteroids, Didymos has two masses of rock orbiting around each other. The primary body of mass, codenamed 1996 GT or simply Didymos, was discovered back in 1996 by the Spacewatch project at Kitt Peak Observatory in Tucson, Arizona. It was initially thought to be a single asteroid measuring about 2,540 feet in diameter, orbiting our Sun once every 770 days. It wasn't until 2003, on its closest approach to Earth at a 7 million kilometer distance, that the twin was spotted. By the way, 7 million kilometers is relatively close for an object that size. It was during this close flyby that Spacewatch detected a smaller body orbiting around Didymos, much like our own moon does around the Earth. The smaller body, measuring 520 feet, was then named Didymos B, or Didymoon. The plan by NASA is to target Didymos B and make a kinetic impact using a spacecraft. The impact is expected to shift the smaller asteroid, which will upset the barycenter between the two bodies. The barycenter of two bodies is the center at which both objects orbit around each other, much like the Moon and Earth or the Sun and Jupiter. Upsetting this barycenter would destabilize the smaller asteroid and alter its course significantly. This, of course, is all theoretical, and the aim of the DART launch is to experiment before an actual threat is present. In August of 2018, NASA approved the DART project to begin its final design and assembly stage. SpaceX was awarded the contract to lift off the DART spacecraft into space aboard its Falcon 9 rocket. The Falcon 9 rocket has had over 100 successful launches since its commission and has landed over 70 times. An impressive feat unmatched by any other rocket in the world. The successful track record of the SpaceX rocket makes it the perfect choice to test out DART. In an attempt to reduce launch costs, NASA meant to launch DART as a secondary payload on a commercial launch at a fraction of the present cost. But with over 8,000 observed large asteroids in our solar system, the importance of the launch could not be overemphasized. As such, it was later concluded that the Falcon 9 would launch the DART spacecraft as a dedicated launch rocket. Mission Systems engineer Elena Adams of Johns Hopkins University expressed excitement at the decision for a dedicated launch vehicle, saying, "Before, we had to spend a lot of time spiraling around Earth. We didn't know where we were going to get dropped off. Now we have a dedicated launch vehicle and we'll be able to just go where we want to go." Although DART is now a single launch program, it wasn't originally planned to be. NASA and the European Space Agency had different plans to test out the asteroid impact avoidance theories. Back in 2015, when the alignment was made between both space agencies, the program was called ADA. And much like the asteroids it intended to impact, ADA was to feature two separate spacecraft launches. If things went according to plan, the European spacecraft, codenamed AIM, would have launched in December 2020. aim was to orbit the larger asteroid Didymus. It was intended to study the composition of both masses. The AIM spacecraft was to collect data on the asteroid's physical properties, its internal structure, as well as the influence of Didymus B on the larger asteroid. DART was then to launch in July 2021 and make impact with the smaller asteroid in September of 2022 during its next close flyby with Earth. Sadly, the combined launch was cancelled, and the impact of DART will be studied using telescopes and radars here on Earth. Even with the DART spacecraft now flying solo, it was still expected to launch in July 2021, but the launch has now been shifted to a later date in November of 2021. NASA announced that it had experienced some technical delays, but that the later launch date would not affect the intended impact date of September 2022. According to NASA, the DART project is currently working with SpaceX and NASA's Launch Services Program, LSP, to identify the earliest possible launch opportunity within this secondary window. Following a risk assessment by NASA's Science Mission Directorate, some technical problems with some vital parts of the spacecraft were discovered. Issues related with the Didymus reconnaissance and asteroid camera for OpNav, Draco imager were all part of the major problem. The Draco is meant to capture footage of the asteroid up until the DART vessels impact the asteroid. The Draco is a delicate piece of engineering and has never been featured in a rocket launch before, so scientists are working on reinforcing it to withstand the rigors of launch. The team of engineers is also working on making sure the Draco captures good quality images. The rollout solar arrays, or ROSA, which will power the Draco by harnessing solar energy, is quite shiny. As such, the reflections from the solar arrays might distort the images captured by the Draco, so NASA engineers need to work on protecting the cameras from these reflections. NASA also contributed to the delays in line with the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused delays in the supply of some vital parts of the spacecraft. Production and assembly of the solar arrays of the DART spacecraft called ROSA was delayed for months due to COVID restrictions at the production facilities. Associate Administrator for NASA's SMD Thomas Zurbuchen announced, "To ensure DART is poised for mission success, NASA directed the team pursue the earliest possible launch opportunity during the secondary launch window to allow more time for Draco testing and delivery of ROSA and provide a safe working environment through the COVID-19 pandemic." The DART mission might not launch at the predicted date in July, but this secondary window is expected to reach the asteroid with enough time before it even gets anywhere close to Earth. The success of the DART mission is both exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, especially for space enthusiasts. But for now, all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope that the missions will be successful. Is the DART mission really worth the expense of a $50 million space launch? And will the vessel successfully impact the asteroid and divert its trajectory? Let us know what you think down in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to get more enriching content in the tech world.